my theory is Trump backed out because he knew he was not ready. Hey, I'm your host Alexis.
And I'm your co-host Drew.
Sit back and relax because you're
in good company.
Hey guys, so in this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the impact of meme culture and what it means for the presidential election. And the reason why we chose this topic specifically is because, I don't know about you, but everywhere I look online, specifically TikTok, I'm seeing memes of Kamala Harris. I'm seeing
like takes, we're seeing edits, we're seeing quotes.
I mean, and it's not like feel like it's being pushed down my throat, but I'm seeing enough of it to be more aware of who she is and what she stands for. Because Kamala Harris, before I was as educated as I am now, I knew about two things about her. I knew coconuts.
Yeah.
Do you think you fell out of a
coconut tree?
You live in the context. And I also knew that she was always getting a silk press and laughing about it. That is what I knew. That was who Kamala was in my mind. Silk press girly and coconut girly. And obviously she was black and Indian, and I was like, okay, minority. But I didn't know if she I guess I wasn't fully aware if she definitely had these same, I want to say, she cared about the same things that I did when it came to who I wanted to be in office, if she was concerned about the same policies or different things like that. So I was like,
I feel like her as her in office was kind of ambiguous because we did not really know what she did behind the scenes.
I'm just gonna say, I don't know if I just didn't pay enough attention to what the VP does. But I don't know what she was doing up there.
Yeah,
I genuinely do not know.
Track.
She was not on my radar, and I don't think
Same.
she was on a lot of people's radar who are in the younger generations. I know she was on someone's radar, but I don't know whose it was. So, honestly, what were your thoughts when, Biden stepped down and nominated VP? Because I think we kind of talked about it. I was kind of I was hopeful for the best, but I didn't really feel any strong emotion towards it. Because I didn't really have a strong opinion on her as a person yet.
Yeah, when it was first announced that she was going to be the next presidential nominee, I was skeptical like you.
Yeah.
And I was nervous because before the whole announcement that she will be the next nominee, there was a lot of mess in the Democratic Party.
Heavy on that.
And the whole Biden campaign was kind of like a giant trash fire prior.
It felt like it was slowly going down in flames, and we were kind of watching it. There was not a sense of hope. It was okay, Biden or Trump.
And that was your decision. That was
it. But it wasn't I was super set on Biden, and I knew Trump didn't have my best interest, so I was never going to be voting for him. So it was just I guess.
It felt like you were binded to a decision that you didn't want to make nonetheless.
No, it was almost I know this is probably a little inappropriate. It was someone offers me 2 different slices of cake, and I'm I don't really like any slice, but I like this slice a little bit more, so I guess I'll eat it. And it's I guess I'll eat it.
It's the same rhetoric from back in the 2020 election, because I heard a lot of people say, would you rather be shot in the foot or would you rather be shot in your heart?
That is not how you want to be thinking about people. And then also people in other countries are looking at us and they were laughing, but they were also this is really sad. This is a
mess.
It's a hot mess. You have people they're on stage, they don't have they can't say coherent sentences, they're getting cut off, they're they just,
the whole presidential
they
debate
both look
year.
like they should be, respectfully, they both look like they should have been having retirement or in a senior citizen home, but instead they had to make decisions about how my life is gonna go, and I was heck to the no, because they're 80, give or take.
Yes,
but they're a hard 80. Okay,
didn't Biden just turn 81?
I think he's early into it, but respectfully, that man's a hard 80, and I think it's really because he has such a stressful job. That job is going to age you regardless of how you come in looking in, because it's just a lot to take on. But I just know my initial thoughts on Kamala, I was okay, it's better than what we had.
Yeah.
And she's
and
younger.
We didn't know much, really.
Yeah, to be honest, I was and I didn't think she was gonna win at first. I still don't want to say like, but I will say with everything that has been going online lately, at least from what I'm seeing, I know there is a lot of support for her.
Yeah,
which has been very like inspiring to see.
The turnaround with appealing to meme culture
like within
is
like
insane.
Genuinely, like a week, there has been so much going on, like very quickly, which has been surreal to watch go down. I know if you guys have been on TikTok, you've probably seen the coconut tree memes. Edits of her in general have been everywhere.
Okay, wait, what kind of edits have you been seeing? Because a lot of my Kamala Harris edits have been very directly linked to Charlie XCX.
Okay.
So, like, what kind of edits are you seeing?
The whole, like, brat summer thing. Yeah. I have definitely seen that. But I genuinely have just seen edits of her, like, sound bites. Like, of her
quotes.
Like, a quote of her being talking to somebody in a debate, and then like her eating up that little soundbite, and then like an edit of her like looking cool,
just
looking professional,
hair flips.
And it's entertaining. But also in these sound bites, there's this one edit, and she was like asking, I do not remember who it was, but she was asking this guy, and she was like, so are there any laws that surround men's bodies? And he's like, what do you mean by that? She's like, I'm asking you, are there any laws that surround men's bodies? And he's like, I mean men's bodies. And she's like, I don't think so.
And then it cuts
and they cut to the edit, and I'm like, oh, she ate that up.
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
So like they sprinkle a little bit of like her, like I guess her, not her agenda, but like how she, the things she believes in.
Right.
And I like that it's a sprinkle of that, but also her eating it up, because one thing about edit, you could convince me to watch a show I don't care about. You convinced me to buy a product I don't care for, because you made a killer edit. It's literally one of the best forms of marketing for our generation.
For real, like the way that you present it, the way that it sells the baddie,
like different trending audios.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, you want a politician that you feel like isn't super corrupted and that you can root for. And also, as you said it when we were just talking off camera, that the memes are humanizing her.
Yeah.
Because she's partaking in like silly humor that we
like,
are.
Oh, she's like also young. She understands our jokes.
Literally, she's 60 years
like,
old,
she appeals.
but she is so much younger compared.
Yeah.
And she doesn't look 60. She doesn't carry herself like she's 60. And I think that makes a big difference. But
I think a lot of factors come in for her to present herself as a lot younger. Or I don't know if she's actively doing this, but like my perception of her is that she's younger than she actually is.
No, I agree. And I do think part of it is no doubt that she has young people around her promoting her. And they understand what we like, what we find entertaining, and what really matters to us, which I know for me personally, I've seen people talk about. It's laws on women's bodies specifically. It's everything going on with guns, because that's real.
Yeah.
I remember my first semester of college, I would sit in this one classroom, and mind you, there was like one door to get in. We didn't have any windows, and all I could think, I had anxiety the entire time I was in this class. If a shooter came in, what am I going to do? And the fact that that was a constant thought in my head is so sad to me, but it's so real. Like, I remember she was on a talk show, and she was like, how many of you guys are in college and used to have to do drills? And everybody raised their hand. Because that is so relevant. And it didn't seem like other presidents were like they didn't, it's not that they didn't care, I don't want to say that, but it wasn't like a priority. They had so many things to
it wasn't a
predominant
like law that they were going to pass.
Exactly. No. And
it wasn't like a forefront thought.
Yeah, it was like, we have a lot on our plate, so we're gonna eventually maybe get to that. And it's like, no, you need to get to that now. Like, my life is on the line, please don't play with me. And I think she is speaking to people who voices have been, I don't want to say silenced, but not taken seriously.
Not taken seriously is a great way to
I feel like
that.
Our generation's been screaming and saying, please just care. And she's like, I do care. And I really hope that this isn't like just to get elected, and like she genuinely, but from what I've seen of like the different things in her career that she has stood for, I do think this is genuine. Some people say, oh, they just say that to get elected, but at least she's saying it.
Yeah.
At least she's saying it.
It goes back to like, it brings attention to it, but it brings awareness to it, and then from there it grows.
Absolutely. And I will say, on the other hand, Trump's administration is blowing it bad for him. It's just a bad look. Like, they keep making bad decisions when it comes to like who they're hiring, who's doing the social media, and it's not having the same impact. And I will say, he had that little meme though. He had that little meme where he was maybe shot at. And I say quotations because they're still unclear about exactly what happened. They believe it was a shooter, but he wasn't actually. It's a lot. But what I'm trying to say is, I know for a hot second he had his fist up, and he had that little like moment, and all the Trumpies had like they had like a bandage on their ear when they went to his Yes, girl.
I'm sorry.
Yes, and like
that's
fake
new.
blood.
I did not hear about that.
And they were like, "This is for Donald J. Trump." I'm laughing because it's just so unserious. They legitimately did that to show support. And people were like, that man's ear is fine.
No, girl.
Yes.
No.
Yes. I'm giving true new information. She's gagged. It gagged me. I said, okay.
Slay Queen, I guess. I don't know what to say to that.
Truly. And then also, like, just in the fact that, as we're talking about, like, memes that come up, the way she like stumbled upon her phrase,
her slogan,
like, we are not going back.
Yeah,
I know that's
like
right.
She was speaking in her rally, and it just naturally came up. It wasn't a curated thing. And I saw some conversation about this that I really liked, about how we are not going back is such a strong independent view, an antithesis to the MAGA, like the MAGA concept, right?
Heavy on that.
Because Biden was very much, we're against Trump,
right.
But the we are not going back is very independent on its own. And I think that really helps her like stand her ground and separate her from Biden, because I think a part of her campaign right now is she has to separate herself from Biden,
and she does feel very separate from him. I will say, I don't feel like, I don't know, that they just kind of slid her in because they didn't have anybody else. It seems like she's like, no, I've been ready for this. Right. And I almost feel like, people were like,
she hit the ground running.
It almost feels like, it take 10 years to become an overnight success. She actually and I swear, in 2019, I don't know what I was doing, but she ran for president in 2019.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like she's been about this, and she's like, oh no, this is my time. Like, I'm not playing. I'm ready. The way Trump dropped out of the presidential debate, I wanted to see that. That was the first time in years that I really, really wanted to see. Do you remember, like, the back one, like, when it was just Biden and Trump, and the whole fly was more memed than what the heck they were saying?
Yeah. That fly was
the
internet focusing on the fly after the presidential debate was insane.
No, truly.
But that was the last one, not the most recent one.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the Rose Music one hasn't.
The most recent one between Biden and Trump, where they were like talking about when Biden.
Wait,
did not
they were arguing about
the golfing. Oh, you can go to get you.
People were like, this can't be real. It can't be real. It is real. What timeline are we living in? Someone tell me. I don't know. But yeah, no, I wanted to see that really bad. I wanted to see that so bad. And I think my theory is Trump backed out because he knew he was not ready for coherent arguments. No, but truly.
Complete sentences.
No, really. Like, those people just, bruh, send them to Florida. Let them have a calm, peaceful retirement.
Time to relax.
Just relax. No, but truly, and as I was saying, I have to ask Truk, we were talking about like how her team has been able to tap into like trending things.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say, do you feel that without that it would look very different? Because I think it would.
I think it would as well, mainly because beforehand a lot of people were skeptical when she first stepped up. We were skeptical, right?
Heavy on that.
And her not being able to build the following that like Kamala HQ was able to build, I don't know how she would get the attention and the momentum that she is at the moment.
And let me say a little bit, Kamala HQ used to be Biden HQ, which I did not know Biden had a TikTok page.
Yeah, I didn't know Biden had a TikTok page
he had a little which is crazy. But I was scrolling down just looking because it really started to blow up like last week, this week.
We can see it in the stats. Like if you just take a look at their account page,
they were like occasionally getting maybe 1 million views. Now every video like after a certain date, so many views, like millions and millions and
over
millions
a million
and millions of views, millions of likes. It's insane. Her official campaign video, which is on the Kamala HQ page, I believe, posted 5 days ago as of when we're filming this, has 3.6 million likes. That's not even talking about views. Likes is 3.6 million.
This is engagement, right? Likes is over views.
Very true.
Even then, right, Kamala Harris just opened up her own TikTok account.
Page. Yeah.
And in 4 days ago, 4 days
to this day that we're actually filming. Girl, give them the stats. The stats go crazy.
Tell me why in 4 days she was able to gain 3.4 million followers. And that is going to continue to go up.
And Kamala HQ has 2.6 million followers. So it's just surreal to watch it in real time. Because I was saying to Truth prior to we even like turn the cameras on, there hasn't been a presidential, I guess, campaign besides the one that previously happened. And TikTok was newer then, okay? You know, it was fresher. And there were like memes and people were like, it kind of worked the same way. They kind of memed Biden and people were kind of like, oh, like I like him, this and that. I know what went crazy was like photos of young Biden and people were thirsting over young Biden.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
I mean, for the Kamala Harris edits at the moment, they are using photos of her younger self as well. I have been seeing some.
No, they definitely are. But I will say what's really refreshing is it just feels more genuine. And I don't know if it is more genuine, but it feels more genuine. And I think that's all that really matters to me.
I think also she had the image of the laughing vice president prior. We always knew she always had this image of being joyful.
Like she was
so her really going into the unseriousness and the memeness.
It does
feel
that's such a great point.
Line up.
That is such a great point. And another thing that I do want to say that I was talking, mind you, we were having a long conversation about this.
We were discussing prior.
We were talking about like the memes and everything that's been going on and the laughing. And when you think about Kamala Harris, one thing I really like is she's never felt inauthentic, because when you think about it, she used to be a prosecutor. And what's really interesting is I was doing research and people were saying that she used to be seen as a soft prosecutor, and people were like, you're not tough enough for this line of work. And she was getting a lot of ridicule for, you know, prosecuting people, and people felt like it was unfair, specifically the Black community, which I'm going to tag TikTok videos explaining better than I can about everything that was going on. And honestly, that situation was misexplained and kind of turned into something else, because I was not rocking for her for that whole reason. But it was very interesting to see that, because I realized one thing that's different about her than Barack specifically is that they are both biracial. She is Indian and Black. He was white and Black, but he was raised with his white side of the family. And when I just look at like his speeches and stuff, it really seemed like he didn't want to, I guess, stir the pot on either side. He was like, I want to bring people together and this and that. And while that's a very lofty goal, unfortunately, because you don't ruffle feathers on either side, I feel like it's hard to make genuine change, because someone's not going to be happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you got to go what you feel like is best. But he didn't grow up within the Black community as heavenly. You know, he went to an Ivy. Kamala went to an HBCU. She went to Howard, shout out. And she was an AKA. So I think she was a lot of these Black spaces. And then she grew up in Oakland, where she's from, is a pretty Black area, depending on where you're from. And I think the biggest difference is she's never had to shy away from who she is. She was a prosecutor. She was doing what she needed to do, and she still carries that energy. She's not afraid to like make people upset or make waves, and that's what I appreciate. And that's why I feel like it's going to be different with her, because even her, I guess, the way she goes about it, she's like, she can talk very well, she can carry herself very well, and she's like, no, this is what I want to do. Like, I've had time to think about it. I know what needs to be done. I'm listening to the people. I'm having conversations with our youth, and I'm gonna make sure this happens. She's about business. I want a woman who's about business, bruh. I don't want somebody who's scared to upset people. She's about it. She's on her Zoom, and
get on your Zoom.
Literally get on it. And I think that's one of the biggest things. It's like, to have somebody who potentially could be president who feels like they're genuinely listening. And not only that, it's like, finally, because it was getting really scary. Like, the reality of Project 2025 is really scary. And it feels like hope. Like for, it's like,
it's finally a breath of fresh air
truly.
that I know a lot of people appreciated.
And that's why I think people are so excited to campaign for her. There was like this unease and I couldn't shake it. And now I'm like, okay, the next 4 years might actually be, pretty good. And I didn't think that before. And I was just like, shoot, okay, I finished college and then I'll leave the country. Like, I was like, just let me get through college, please.
Yeah.
But like, what are your thoughts on everything
happening now? It definitely makes me feel a little bit more hopeful.
Heavy.
I think the rally that a lot of the people rallying behind her has been pretty powerful people. We have a lot of strong Democrats coming in, and even Republicans. You shared with me earlier
are shifting
today.
their opinion, which has been wild to see.
I like Alexa shared with me earlier today. There was a governor. My apologies. A governor from Arizona who spoke up in support of Kamala
He said
Harris.
Republicans are weird. And they were like, weird? We're not weird. No, but it was explaining how they're like, out of all the attacks to be called a weirdo, that's hurting.
It's embarrassing.
No, truly. And I also saw mine again, TikTok, and I think people really underestimate TikTok, and kind of some people don't take it seriously, but talking about how in Florida, in this super red area, they had a whole rally for Kamala Harris. I'm getting confused by last names. No, and it was, people were like, this hasn't happened. I don't know when the last time this has happened or if this has ever happened. And to see that, it's like Trump is offending all the right people that Kamala isn't. Like, that's what it feels like. Because even if he's not directly saying it, his team is offending people. The people he's like, or who are representing him are offending the people that he really needs to vote for him. And it's like, well, where are they to go? Where do they go?
Well,
they got two teams to choose from, and you're offending them.
So yeah, that's where we're currently at.
No, truly.
And honestly, we still have until November, so things are always going up and down.
Oh my goodness.
So
because things have been moving so fast.
Like,
this is genuinely the past week that this has all been going on. Like,
genuinely,
it's very recent.
Like, she hit the ground running. The moment that Biden sent out that letter, campaign started rolling.
No, and I definitely, because the amount of money that they've raised in like just a day.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know how much it was. It was a crazy amount. It was millions of dollars. And I'm like, shout out to the AKAs. Shout out to all the black people, because they're doing their big one, bruh. They're doing their big one. Shout out to all the minorities who are like up on it. And just shout out to everybody who has been taking this seriously, because I saw someone talking about how Democrats have not had somebody they were rallying for so hard in a long time. Like, they were talking about how passive the Democratic Party has been, and I agree. I mean, I felt pretty passive.
I felt like I heard somewhere that a lot of their tactics in more local elections, not presidential elections, of course, they were choosing Democrats who are more moderate leaning so that they can appeal to a larger audience, and then they would go from there. And once again, it falls under the, passiveness and their
exactly, because they're afraid to, like, if we shake it too much, like, we're not going to get these voters that we need. And I think what's so interesting is that, at least personally speaking, it's felt like there was a lack of motivation. Like, we were kind of just trugging along. Like, Democrats were just kind of trugging along. Like, I mean, I guess. And I'm like, if this is how inspired Trump makes Republican feels, I understand why he has such a cult following. Because it's kind of like, and this is, mind you, it's only been about a week. And Trump's had years to build this. So I just think it's really interesting to see happen. And I don't think there have been people that's excited since probably like Barack, and that was just because it was just so different and like exciting, and like, what could come from this. Mind you, I can't speak to a lot because I haven't lived through a lot of presidents. I lived through Barack, I lived through Trump, I lived through Biden. Like, this has basically been the same administration. So I guess we'll see.
I also think that the huge support and the huge blow up for Kamala Harris is such a direct symptom of how stuck and stagnant we felt under the Biden administration. And I think
someone's offering change, and we're like, another thing I want to say though is when I think about it, I'm like, Kamala Harris is like 60 years old and yet she feels so much youthful. I can't imagine the day we actually have somebody who's genuinely like 30 or 40. Like, I can't imagine the youth that's going to be coming off of them, because I just think when you compare it to who we've had, she doesn't give 60. I think she doesn't give it at all. To me, she could pass for 50s, like early 50s, and some places
late 40s
with no glasses 50s. On, blurry vision.
Now,
late 40s. No, but I just think honestly it's probably the way she carries herself, and that she just doesn't. I don't know what
laughter.
Yeah, honestly. No, I don't know what she was doing as a VP, but she don't look like she was too stressed out.
I have no comments.
Like, when we saw her, at least public appearances, she was.
She's jumping on stage.
I have to say, I've even seen people talk about, the day we all vote for Kamala, let's go get our silk presses down, or like. It's so unserious. Or people be like, getting my Kamala silk press today in honor.
I have been seeing that.
It's so funny. So I think even before she was, the presidential candidate, she had been memed. Mm-hmm. She was a memeable person.
She was coconut before the coconut blew up again.
She was a coconut tree meme, heavy on that silk press meme has been going on since we knew about her.
Yep.
That's not dying. I still don't feel tired of that. It's still funny every time I see it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, shout out to our generation, because
the ability to memify anything is truly
the marketing
talent.
Is unmatched. I hope she's paying y'all well. I hope this goes on your apps and you get into anywhere you want to go. Shout out to all of y'all. I don't know who you are, but you're doing your thing, your big one. And I actually want to talk about some of the things that I've learned from TikTok that's not like super funny, but it's about Kamala Harris and what she stands for, because these videos have been trickling in
for sure
with the funnier bits.
Yes.
So one of the things she stands for, which I assumed, but it's nice to hear out her mouth, is women being allowed to do what they want with their body without the interference of the government. She's like, listen, you can be religious, you can do this, that, but these rules should not, or like these laws should not be able to override the fact that the government and the church should be separate. They should be separate. You can like genuinely do whatever you want, talk to your pastor, do what you want, but how do you have a right to infringe that on everybody?
Right.
And I think that is so real, because some people aren't religious, some people are completely different religious backgrounds. So how is one religious, is it nationality, like religious body, how is one religious group able to impose that on everyone else? I think that's crazy. Literally, weren't people and I remember my history class, people were fleeing from the Europeans because they were trying to impose and then we're gonna do that here. What sense does that make? Like, what sense does that make? So like, know your history, because it tries to repeat. Next thing, gun control, using laws to ban assault weapons, because thank you, they do not need to be on the streets. When elected, if Congress fails to act, she says she will give them 100 days to present her bill, and that is not done. She will put in place via executive action a comprehensive background check requirement and ban the importation of assault weapons, which that's just like genuinely like just hearing such relief, because it's so real and it's so scary that I do not want to die at the hands of a gun, but so many people who would be my age if they hadn't been shot would be here if that hadn't happened. Like, that is just such a fear. And I remember at one point, this was not that long ago, there was like a new shooting like every other day, like genuinely like every other day, and people were just dying. And it's such like, it's not an irrational fear, because it can happen to you. And every time I go somewhere, I'm thinking, where is the exit? Where would I go? And it's like, at one point, it's like, I don't know. I don't actually have anywhere to go. And it's just to hear somebody who would have all that power finally do something about it and be like, I'm serious, 100 days, it's a wrap. It's like, thank God, truly. And I also just want to, one point that was so interesting to me was how people prop the U.S. as so much better than foreign countries, but they don't People are not dying via gun violence the way they are in schools.
Okay, on that statement of the whole idea that the US is better than other countries, it's really not.
No, it's not.
Like, you take a look at the technological advances of different countries. Like, right now I'm thinking of China and how, or also Japan, they have bullet trains. China has bullet trains. They're using electric
and
cars
they're not walking around with guns everywhere. It's a lot.
Like, administration is so different. And I also know, like, in China, drug control is a lot stricter too. Like, there's so many different, there's a lot of historical aspects that come in to shape the way the country is run.
I do want to say places with that are impoverished usually are that way because they were colonized and they were ran through. Like, the resources snatched the resources
from them,
and then left them to struggle. And it's just, I feel like people just look at them and assume, oh, that's what they get and that's what they deserve. But you don't understand the history of how this happened, because that easily could have been your people if someone else wanted to come here and pillage and take and still make a profit off of your goods. Like, they wouldn't be like this. And I just think that stuff, that's why I always push history class. I really, and I mean, they were talking about just when I was taking my first African-American history class just like a year ago, my teacher was like, I don't know if I'll be able to teach this class in a few years because I don't, like, they're banning it. So I just think, take the chance. If you have the opportunity to, educate yourself, y'all, because they don't want you to be educated, truly. She was talking about how she wants to increase healthcare affordability, wants to end child poverty. I'm not exactly aware of how she plans to go about this, but it was things she brought up. And I really do admire the fact that they were brought up, because these could be, and I don't think they should be, but sometimes these are polarizing subjects. These are subjects that can alienate a whole group of people from voting for her. But on the other hand, you are finally listening and speaking to so many people who, like, have needed to hear this, have needed to hear that, like, because at the end of the day, the U.S. is our home, and some people are okay with up and moving, but we have roots here. A lot of minorities have roots here, and they rather not have to just give up on it. They rather see it get better. They rather see things change for the best. I rather see that. I live in an area with a lot of minorities, and I like it here. I rock with y'all, and I don't want this to be taken from us. So I'm hopeful. I will say, I think, Truk, you want to do any last words, how you're feeling?
I am also feeling hopeful. Yeah. I think I was really skeptical at first, but now we are moving forward, and I'm really happy that we get to move forward. So here's to November. No, truly. I want to encourage everybody, if you haven't already, to vote.
Vote. Please vote.
I think you have to register to vote first. Yes. File for which party you are going to be affiliated with. And when the day comes in November, go to the ballots. But you can register early. I would recommend registering early so that you don't have to, spend extra time the day of. It's not as much of a process. And yeah, I think...
we should try and find a link and put it down below so you can just click that link and register.
And also keep an eye on your local elections too. Aside from presidential elections, local elections make a bigger difference because they kind of affect the more of your day-to-day life.
Heavy on that. And I think this is kind of, I think at times, at least speaking for personal experience and just experience of, like, my peers that I talk to, because of what's going on, you can feel so just overwhelmed and just, like, distraught. But they want to badger us down. Like, I genuinely believe they want to throw so many policies at us that we don't know where to focus. And we're just like, screw this. Like, I'm overwhelmed. Like, what happens. But you can, I know people be saying, like, voting, how much impact can that really have? Listen, if you believe in what she's pushing, voting will make a difference. Voting will make a difference. And I feel like, almost like the power is back in my hands. It felt like it had been ripped from me. I'm like, no. I want it back. Give it back to me. And it's definitely a relief. But it's not over yet, okay? We shouldn't get complacent. We need to keep helping. Y'all, I'm not even going to lie. Make a little meme video. You've helped with the campaign.
Make a little edit.
You've helped with drop a little edit. You've helped with the campaign. And I love that it's that easy now. I think that does way more good than stapling a poster somewhere. Like, truly, for real talk. Do not become complacent. Go register to vote. And if you can't vote, get on your Zoom and start making memes, okay?
We can get on CapCut,
Gart making memes.
pull some photos, put a little song on it, put it on TikTok.
Literally. And I think that is the wrap for me. I will say song rec. This song gives me heavy summer vibes, and I've been listening to it on drives. And it's called Right Down the Line.
I have not heard that one.
I am not going to attempt to pronounce this. I would just, put a little photo of the artist down below. just splash up the name of the song on Spotify so you guys can check it out. But it definitely is a vibe if you are not aware of it. Truk, what are your last little bits?
So my TikTok that I want to share today is related to our discussion with Kamala Harris, and I found it really funny. If you guys have heard the coconut speech or have heard a little bit more like an elongated version of her soundbite, it kind of talks about how we exist within the context of those who came before us and the people around us. We exist because the people around us exist. And it's
actually quite beautiful.
She ate with that one.
She did eat. That
it stayed in my head for a couple of days.
Like, the soundbite made no sense, but if you listen to everything.
But within context, I think it was great.
Yeah, she was on her Zoom with that.
So I saw this TikTok where it quoted Karl Marx, Kamala Harris, and Charlie XCX all in the same video, where it discusses the same thing about how we come from the people. We are here because of the people around us. And I'm just going to read Charlie's one because it's very straightforward, trendy at the moment. I feel like y'all would get it. For her new song in her album Brat Apple, I think the apple's rotten right to the core from all the things that passed down from all the apples coming before. Ooh. And that line, that like soundbite from the song has been used in a lot of edits connected to Kamala Harris. And I think it's fun. I think it's a really interesting take that we've been able to do with TikTok and make and present Kamala Harris that way.
History repeats, man.
And yeah, I mean, should I read the Karl Marx one? I can. It's here.
Yeah, you should. But also, if anyone doesn't know, Karl Marx is a famous sociologist. I actually think I had to learn about him in my intro to sociology class. He was talking about some interesting stuff, so
So he shared the tradition of all dead generation weighs like a nightmare on the brains of the living. And once again, what you do now is really like a lot of the past affects the present. Yeah. And we just got to keep trucking on forward.
Start learning about his beliefs. That's when I realized how bad capitalism was, and I started tweaking out. He was the beginning of that, so shout out to him.
So yeah, that was the TikTok I wanted to share. I'll link it down below as well.
That was great. But that is a wrap. We can say shout out to the humanities department
and shout out to Bobby.
And guys, vote. Seriously, vote.
All right, we'll see you guys next Thursday.